From Christmas?
Or holidays, anything.
Oh, embarrassing. Man, I don't think I do.
Probably the best one I have is when I went shopping with my mother back in the 80s, and we had a tradition back in the day to go on Christmas Eve. We would buy a present, go grab a beverage.
No, if I have, I've done a pretty good job of forgetting them.
Buy a present, grab a beverage.
My memories of Christmas, it's all about the get-togethers at our house. It was my grandfather, Luigi, playing the guitar, leading us in Silent Night. It was all my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, the whole family there. To me, those are the memories.
Buy a present, grab a beverage.
I remember as a kid, I can't remember exactly how old I was, but I ran into the living room on Christmas morning and I saw this big stuffed gorilla and I started hugging it and dancing with it and saying it's exactly what I wanted. And it turns out it was for my sister. It was very depressing. I think the next year I got a miniature stuffed gorilla, but it wasn't the same.
Buy a present, grab a beverage.
I think Christmas caroling is a little awkward for the people who you are Christmas caroling to, because they're standing at their door, maybe they don't have their coat on, and then they're happy to see you, and then like on verse 3, they're like,
Yeah.
how long is this gonna last?
Yeah, they're not sure how long they have to stand there and smile.
Yeah.
It's like, is there a limit here? Can we just turn out the lights and go to bed now? But yeah, it is always a little bit awkward.
Not really. I think most of my Christmases, or most of our Christmases, have been pretty copacetic. I mean, same tradition, same things we do. Nothing real crazy. I'm trying to think if we burned anything or anything like that. House never came tumbling down. Tree was never on fire. Nothing like that. Nothing like that.
My most memorable Christmas story is from when I was 5 or 6 years old. It was Christmas Eve. We were at my aunt's house. It was the most exciting night of the year. She would fix a big fancy dinner and like 20 of us kids would run around. My aunt had this big, glorious, fancy house that we didn't have, and they had a big attic. And so I was playing hide and seek. And I was trying to find a place to hide. So I went up in the attic and I found the perfect spot and I crouched down and I was moving and I grabbed a hot pipe with my little right hand and I screamed, which no one heard because I was in the attic, and opened my hand, and the entire center of my hand was a giant bubbling flesh thing. This sounds terrible, doesn't it? So I go running down to the kitchen. I ruin everyone's dinner because now I'm now wounded at the party. And I remember all of the adults trying to act calm but freaking out because this is the 70s and like nobody's gonna rush me to the emergency room. You just kind of like throw something on it. I remember them putting butter on it. Nobody does that anymore. I remember them putting ice on it and then wrapping it in a bandage, and my hand like had a heartbeat, the whole hand. And I felt that way all the way home. But when I woke up the next morning and my hand hurt so badly, 11Alive was under the tree. So we were good because Santa had hooked me up, so the hand was worth it.
Buy a present, grab a beverage.
I guess my favorite Christmas story is that my house got burglarized 2 days before Christmas in 2005. The people stole all the wrong stuff and then got caught. In fact, my neighbors saw the house getting burglarized, called the police, had a burglary in progress, had a SWAT team go through my house apparently before I even got there, and then they caught the guys fleeing about a mile away. Yes. Not only was my house burglarized 2 days before Christmas in 2005, but then the TV station that I was working with said, hey, it'd be a great idea, Doug, if you did a story on your own house being burglarized. In fact, why don't you do a live shot in front of your own house? It was very heartwarming.
When I was a child, I was the youngest of 9 kids, and of course Santa coming was a big deal. One night, I was listening for any sound that might be Santa Claus coming, the clip-clop of the hooves on the roof, or maybe a ho-ho-ho or something. I heard a sound. I came down in the middle of the night, and my parents, it turns out, were involved in some hanky-panky. That's, I guess, how they had 9 kids. And they were naked, as I later found out, and hid behind the chairs in the living room. And I went around looking and saw that the presents had arrived, and for whatever reason I ended up, abandoning my quest, and I went back to sleep. And it was only years later, many years post-puberty, that my mom and dad shared the story of their romantic liaison on Christmas Eve.
I can't top that one. Next question.
Buy a present, grab a beverage. You get the idea. At the very end of the day, we didn't know whether we were buying beverages or grabbing presents because it was just a mix of craziness between my mother and I. Embarrassing to some, life as a Clark for others.